The morning sun rose over the ancient city of Rome, casting long shadows across the marble streets. Among the crowds walked a young soldier named Marcus. He was not the strongest or the fastest in his legion, but he carried a secret weapon, one that no enemy could strike down. Marcus had trained his mind like a Stoic warrior. Years before, Marcus had been like any other young man, ruled by his emotions. When things went wrong, he grew angry. When he faced hardship, he complained. But one day an old Stoic philosopher took him aside and said, "The mind is like a fortress. If you do not guard it, your enemies, fear, anger, and despair, will storm the gates and take control." Marcus did not understand at first. "How can I guard my mind?" he asked. The philosopher smiled. "By training it, just as you train your body. A strong mind does not fear pain. It does not run from difficulty. It faces every challenge with calm and clarity." And so, Marcus began his training. The first lesson was simple: control your reactions. The philosopher told him, between what happens to you and your response, there is a space. In that space you have the power to choose. One day, while marching with his legion, Marcus twisted his ankle. Pain shot through his leg, and his first instinct was to curse and rage. But then he remembered the Stoic teaching. Instead of shouting, he took a deep breath and asked himself, "Will anger heal my ankle? Will complaining make the pain go away?" The answer was no. So he chose to accept the pain, to endure it without protest. The second lesson was harder. Accept what you cannot change. Marcus learned that many things in life, storms, sickness, the actions of others, were beyond his control. The Stoics called these things indifferent. They were not good or bad, only our judgments made them so. During a long campaign, Marcus and his men were caught in a terrible storm. The rain soaked their clothes, the wind howled, and the roads turned to mud. The other soldiers grumbled and cursed the gods. But Marcus stood silently, letting the rain fall. He could not stop the storm, but he could choose not to let it disturb his peace. The third lesson was the hardest of all: prepare for the worst. The Stoics practiced a technique called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. Each morning, Marcus would ask himself, what is the worst that could happen today? If he imagined losing his sword in battle, he trained himself to stay calm. If he imagined being insulted, he practiced shrugging it off. One evening, a messenger arrived with terrible news. The enemy had ambushed a nearby outpost, and Marcus's closest friend had been captured. The other soldiers wept or swore vengeance, but Marcus closed his eyes and breathed deeply. He had already imagined such losses. He felt sorrow, yes, but he did not let despair overtake him. Years passed, and Marcus became known not for his strength in battle, but for his unshakable mind. When others panicked, he remained steady. When others gave in to rage, he kept his temper. His fellow soldiers asked him his secret. The secret, Marcus said, is not in avoiding hardship, but in training the mind to face it. A Stoic warrior does not ask for an easy life. He asks for the strength to endure a difficult one. One final test came when Marcus himself was captured by the enemy. Thrown into a dark cell, stripped of his armor, and left with little food, he had every reason to despair. But as he sat in the darkness, he smiled. He had trained for this moment. His captors tried to break him with threats and hardships. But Marcus simply repeated to himself, "You can chain my body, but you cannot chain my mind." He refused to let fear take hold. Even when they told him he would be executed at dawn, he nodded calmly. That night, as he waited for death, he remembered the words of his old teacher. The Stoic does not fear the end. He knows that death is just another part of life, neither good nor bad. What matters is how you live, and how you face what comes. As it turned out, Marcus was not executed. A sudden attack by his own legion freed him. But even if he had died, he would have died free. Free from fear, free from hatred, free from regret. When he returned to Rome, many called him a hero. But Marcus shook his head. "I am no hero," he said. "I am just a man who trained his mind, and that is something anyone can do." The Stoic warrior does not seek fame or riches. He seeks only one thing: mastery over himself. And that, Marcus knew, was the greatest victory of all. So ask yourself, how will you train your mind? Will you let anger control you, or will you choose peace? Will you fear hardship, or will you face it with courage? The choice is yours, and the time to begin is now.